Welcome to the Prospecting Today podcast. And today we're joined with Aaron Drussel with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. And I want to just give you a little bit of an introduction into Aaron. He started as a successful real estate agent that built a large team and then became a broker. And I was reading that your real estate focus is really on deepening quality relationships. Is that the case, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, that's a critical thing. And we've done that over the years. Like my real estate success came from developing relationships with our clientele. And then we did that with our team, and then now we do that as a brokerage. So we have a little over 100 agents and training and teaching that same concept with all of our agents to build rapport and relationships with our clientele.
For all the real estate agents that are joining us on this podcast, how do they do that? How would you suggest they go about deepening a relationship that leads to transactions down the road?
How they go about increasing the relationships?
Or just deepening it.
Deepening it?
What's the best way to go about deepening?
I think one of the challenges that a lot of people have when they're prospecting and building business is they look at going really big, and they look at like building this huge database. And I equate that to like having a giant garden. So if you were to have a large 5-acre garden, it's hard to manage all of that. And so what I've actually looked at is having a smaller database. Like I look at having a smaller group of people that I have a deeper relationship with those people, and really invest more time into that group. So in my large database, I actually have a group of people that are about 200 people that I really focus on deepening the relationship with those people in particular.
Yeah, very interesting. Give me a good example of a way that you deepen a relationship with a client.
So one of the things that we've done over the years that's really helped is we do large events. So we do client events a couple times a year. Our most recent one we did just the other day, I invited my 200 people and invited them to invite their friends and family to come and experience our pumpkin patch party. And we had close to 1,200 people that came in attendance of that. It's a great way to meet the people that they know, like, and trust, and be able to have future introductions of potential business down the road.
Yeah, that's great. I know that we kind of came into contact with each other because I was talking about coaching and what everyone should look for in a coach. So if I were to ask you, what are the top 3 things everyone should look for in a coach, how would you answer that?
I think the first thing to figure out is, where do you want to go? And it's figuring out like where you want to end up. I remember when I was a solo agent and I had closed 87 transactions in 1 year as just an agent with an assistant. Like I was stuck. Like I didn't know how to get to the next place. And so I had to figure out, and I got on a call with a coach at the time, and I spent 10 minutes talking about all the issues I was having. And he pointed out really quickly that I was focused on all the things that weren't working, and I wasn't focused on what I wanted my business to look like. So I had to have clarity about where I wanted to go. And once I had clarity on that, it made it easier to get to that place. So I think first is understanding where you want to go. The second thing when you're looking at a coach is finding someone who's been there and done that. Like someone who has had experience taking other people through that process, someone who is able to, and especially if they've already been down that road, they can help make it a quicker process. And so I would kind of equate that to going on a journey from one destination to the next. You're going to run into some traffic. But if you have someone who's already been there and they can help be in the passenger seat and move you into the fast lane, in the HOV lane, and bypass some of the traffic you might run into, that makes life a lot easier. And then the third thing I would look at is who else have they helped in that process, and kind of being able to see the other people that are in that coaching group or who the coaches worked with, and being able to see, is that a group that if you're around, that you would want your business to be modeled around them? Because you'll find that your business will be a reflection of the people you spend time around. And if you're around other people who that coach is working with, are those businesses that you would say, yeah, I want to run a business like that. I want to see like where those people have been. I want to be at that place.
Yeah. What are some of the pitfalls that you've seen with people selecting coaches where maybe they don't really get a good one?
I think one of the biggest pitfalls is people they get really price conscious about it, and they kind of pick like who's going to be the cheapest coach. And sometimes that's the cheapest coach for a reason. So you want to be able to that's probably one of the biggest issues I see, is that people get so price conscious on how much is going to cost versus what's the potential ROI on that relationship.
Very interesting. What should a coach typically cost?
Oh, That's hard to say. I mean, I think a lot of it depends on where you're trying to take your business to and what's the path of getting there. I mean, there's some coaches that I've been involved with that have cost upwards of $40,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
But at the same time, that coach, like he makes over $4 million a year. So would I spend time with that coach and go on a couple of days to spend time with that coach to get some clear guidance on how to get my business to get there? Yeah. I mean, probably one of the most successful coaches I know is a guy who um, he coaches 1 hour once a month for different top level CEOs. And his 1 hour once a month for 12 months, he charges $500,000 for that 1 hour,
Oh,
which
geez.
is
Okay.
insane. But
Yeah.
you ask him what he's done for those different businesses, and he's taking billion-dollar companies and making them multi-billion-dollar companies. So 500 grand is like a drop in the bucket for what they're trying to get accomplished out of those businesses.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds like it. So when you're working with a coach, how important is accountability? Is that the best thing that they can provide for an agent is keeping them accountable?
The accountability piece,
Yeah.
um, I think accountability is key. I mean, there's a lot of like self accountability that comes into play with agents wanting to, but when you're paying someone to be held accountable, it does raise the stakes a little bit. I mean, it's the same thing as, I mean, how hard do you work out when you go to the gym and you're just doing your own workout versus having somebody holding you accountable on those workouts? Like if you're working out with a trainer or somebody who's a specialist, you're going to have a different experience at the gym than you would on just doing your own. And I think the same goes into play with your real estate business. If you're trying to scale and grow your business, if there's someone that can hold you accountable to what you've committed to do, more so than what just they've told you to do, but you've got to have some buy-in personally on that as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. So how quickly should you be able to see results if you sign on with a coach?
Oh man, that's a great question. And it kind of depends on case to case, but I think that you should honestly start to see some results in 30, 60, 90 days. Like you should be able to see like things are starting to come into place. I mean, I wouldn't expect an immediate return on some of the different concepts that are coming into place, but I mean, some of the coaches I've worked with, I mean, I've seen immediate impact and results right away, but you should definitely start to see the path becoming clear over the first couple months. And if it's just you're not seeing that, then that's probably not a great sign. But you've got to at least have some clarity on the vision of that. So
Who would you recommend as a coach?
who would I make? Oh, it
Who
it
would you recommend?
honestly depends on where someone's trying to go in their business. And I mean, there's so many different coaches out there. I mean, I would break up the real estate business into three different phases. You kind of have the beginning, which is like the lead generation and creation space. There's some great coaches that are around that. Like if you really want to focus on lead gen and generating business, you can find some coaches who are really specialized in that space. There are other coaches who specialize in the relationship aspect of after you get a client and then the past client experience and the advocate experience. So there's some great coaches that are around that space as well. Um, I mean, some of the coaches who are really good on that after unit space. I mean, there's like Joe Stump with Buyer for Only, and Brian Buffini does a lot of stuff in that space. And they're kind of more of the relationship capital type coaches. For like a well-rounded group, I mean, you get people who are like you get groups like Michael Hellickson's Club Wealth. They do a ton of stuff in all those different aspects and units. You get people who are really focused on the before unit that really want lead gen and they're really like more of the hunter type mindset. And you get people that like, kind of resonate with like the Mike Ferry system and some of those different training programs. And so it really, a lot of it depends on the personality of the agent. I would say that there's not one coach who fits everyone. They all kind of fit different demographics in the industry of who and that's kind of how agents run their businesses, really.
Yeah. So I want to shift gears a little bit because you own a brokerage. What should agents look for when they go to sign on with a broker? What types of things should they be aware of, and what should they think is most important when they look to come in house with a broker?
Uh, I think the biggest key is like everybody sounds great up front. Like, I mean, nobody leads with their worst. So, and everybody sounds great on a first date. I mean, you go on a
Mhm.
first date with someone, they're gonna say the right things. You're like, oh, this person's great. until you go into a couple dates with them and you're like, oh, that's why that person's single. Like that makes sense. I mean, everybody sounds great. So, and that's probably the hardest part in real estate. Like all brokerages, well, not all, but most brokerages are want to recruit people all the time. Like they're bringing people on, and they're going to bring their best foot forward. And so I think the biggest key is the more that an agent can see behind the curtain and kind of see what the culture is like, if they can go to some of the different events or trainings, if they can meet some of the agents there and see if they kind of resonate with the personalities and the vibe that that company has, the more they can see the backstage, that's like critical. And then you want to find companies that their front stage matches the backstage. If you find a company and you're like, oh, it sounds great, but then the backstage is totally different than what the front stage is all about, and that's going to be hard to fit there sometimes. And I think the key
Give
thing
a
for
good
anybody is,
example. Well, can you give a good example of that that you've seen where the back doesn't match the front?
sure. I mean, like you have so you have some companies that I would say there's kind of three different groups of companies that all kind of fit together. If you look in the marketplace, you have companies that are very, very transactional minded. Like that's kind of the mindset, that's the kind of the culture they are. It's all about creating deals and like closing deals. It's more of a transactional mindset. You have companies that are more designed to be like a low cost or discount company. So they're like their value proposition is we're going to be the least expensive route, and so we're going to save agents money, which is their positive, and the negative might be they don't have a lot of tools and resources because they just don't have the capital to invest in that or support. I think the third group of companies that you'll find are more of like a relationship based. They're kind of heavy in the um, that during experience that clients have and the after. So I think the challenge that some people have is that some companies mask what they are and what they know what they really are. So you might have a company that says, "Hey, we're all about relationships," and then you get in and you meet them and you're like, "This is not about relationships at all. Like it's all about just closing deals, and it's just like they don't care about people at all. I don't feel like a relationship is here." Or you have companies that are um, they talk about like they're going to offer all these tools and services, and then you get in and you get behind the scenes, you're like, oh, they don't really have. There's not really much content here. There's not really much substance. That I thought there was going to be more here than what I thought, and it's not saying that any one of those is the right or wrong answer because they all have to exist because there are different agents who will fit in those different types of companies. They resonate with that better, and that's not a right or wrong answer by any means.
Yeah. So what do you think is the most important thing they should be looking for when they're looking for a broker?
The most important thing for a broker to find it in a
Yeah,
broker.
for a broker or to go into a certain in-house with a brokerage company. What is the number one thing they should look for?
Sorry, it's super quiet. I'm just trying to make sure I heard you right. So just like you're looking for the right, like what's the best brokerage to?
Yeah, what's the best advice you could give them if you could give them one piece of advice when it comes to finding the
The
perfect
best
fit?
advice when you're interviewing would be trust your gut. So your gut feel will be way better than any sort of logical decision because you'll logically typically run the numbers and you look at all these different things, but it's following your gut and just be like, I feel that this is the best place for me, and I would trust that more than any other aspect when you find the right company to be a part of.
Excellent. So how important do you think having a brokerage help you with prospecting as an agent? Is that an important aspect of who you
I
select, whether
think
or not
that I
they
mean the
really?
brokerage, yeah, like I mean the brokerage can help a lot because what I've found over the years is that prospecting can be a lot of work. I mean, it's like I mean it looks like, it sounds like, and it is work. Like you're doing work to be able to create business, and it's a lot of times easier when you're around other people who are like-minded doing the same thing that you're doing. Like when you're doing it by yourself, like if you're in a cabin in the woods and you're just calling people by yourself all the time and talking to people, it's a little bit harder to do. And I mean, I know that when I look at my success, it really came down to in the beginning, I had three good friends who I made when I first got my real estate license, and the four of us really pushed each other to become successful. And it's kind of that Navy SEAL mindset where when you are focused on your team and pushing your team to success, then you kind of forget about the challenges that you personally have. You kind of push through that because you're helping. So our goal, like when I started with my three friends, like it was they're not going to fail. Like I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they succeed. And I think if you have a brokerage that's set up where you can have that type of environment, to really encourage and push one another to success, then that's a huge help. Then versus the person who's going to try to do it on their own. Like the lone agent. That's a tough route to go to have a lot of success.
Yeah, very interesting. So what do you think is the best thing a brokerage can do to help an agent with prospecting?
I think there's a lot of like training and mindset is like a key thing because there's a lot of pushback mentally on patterns that people have in their life that will limit them on pushing through. I think really the key thing that a brokerage can provide are opportunities to do that, like in creating specific opportunities and being able to encourage and get people out of their comfort zone to do that. I mean, I think one of the things that really helped us as a brokerage, a couple months ago, we did an event where we invited some improv comedians to come, and that was the whole purpose of the improv was to get people out of their heads and to just like step on stage and do something that they're totally uncomfortable and clearing their minds. And when they got into that space, they're like, okay, this isn't as hard as I thought. Like mentally, they were stopping themselves from doing it. And so if a brokerage can put different things in place to help people get out of their own heads and find some success, then that'll be a huge help for people.
Oh, that is so great. I love that idea. So just switching topics again real quickly, how are you feeling about the market? Are you thinking real estate's going to hold steady, go down, or what are your thoughts as you watch the market?
Honestly, I don't even care. I mean, I say that because like looking at being in real estate for a long time, it's all about creating a business that is sustainable in whatever the market does. And as the market changes and adjusts, like I kind of like it when it changes and adjusts because I think people get comfortable in whatever the market is. And once it starts to adjust and change, like I love that. Like I love the fact that it can be different because it creates a little bit of uncertainty. And that's where everybody looks like an A player in an A market. But when it's a C market, like you've got to be an A player to stand out in a C market. So we've had an A market for a long time, and I'm okay if it changes a little bit. I mean, that's okay with me. And I'm not at the mercy of the market dictating my income or my business.
Well, what I thought was really interesting and the key to what you said there was if you have a sustainable business, it doesn't matter what the market does. What's the number one thing you can do to have a sustainable business? What is that secret?
It's being the trusted source for people that when there is uncertainty in the marketplace, they'll come to you to want help and being able to develop a rapport with people. You talked about deepening the relationships. It's all about having a deeper relationship with people so that you become the trusted source. So I have a group of people that I am their trusted source. So when the market adjusts and changes, like I'm the person they're comfortable coming to say, hey, like what's going on here? Like I don't understand what's going on and I need some help in this. And it's being able to have a business that can of model that. When there aren't those deep relationships, it's hard to mask that. Like, and if you have a bunch of shallow relationships, it's not the same.
What's the number one thing, and I know I'm asking a lot of number one things here, but what's the number one thing you did that really sent you soaring towards success? As an agent, what is something you did that kind of set you apart from the rest? That really changed the course of your business, really propelled you forward?
It was the realization that as I grow personally and become a better version of myself, my business is a direct reflection of that.
And why do you
So to have my business grow, it meant I had to grow as a person. So I had to become version 2.0, version 3.0, version 4.0 of myself. And I had to like really spend some deep work in myself to become a better version of myself. And then my business, it just scales dramatically from all the time and effort I put into becoming a better version of myself.
And do you think that's because people connect with you more
Definitely.
when you're at a better level?
Yeah, because you look at different levels of people, and I say real estate business is probably broken up into four different categories. You're in a place of survival to start, and then you get to a place of stability, like that you're trying to get to stability is the next level, and then after stability comes success. But you have agents who will bounce back and forth between success and survival all the time. They'll have a successful month, they'll go back to survival, they'll go back to success, they'll go back to survival. They don't have the stability, and stability comes from systems and consistency around those systems.
Yeah.
And the level after that, after success, is significance. And if you really want to work with clients who are in significance, you personally can't be in survival because those people don't resonate with that. So if you're dealing
Right.
with multi-million dollar buyers and sellers, and they're like they live in a world of significance or success, they're not going to resonate very well with someone who is dealing in the mode of survival in their own life. It just doesn't. It's hard to connect with those people, and so that was one of the big takeaways that I've taken over the last couple of years.
That's really powerful. I like the way you ended that. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, I think the key thing is as people are looking at growing their businesses, it's finding like what are their. I mean, a lot of times people will focus on their weaknesses a lot, and they'll focus on their weaknesses of their business too. And I think that that's one of the biggest mistakes people make is they focus on only their weaknesses in their business. And I honestly would say it's more important to double down on your strengths. Like whatever your strengths are in your business, like double down on that first before investing all the time and effort into whatever holes you might have. And so, because you'll never have a perfect business, and none of us do. I don't have a perfect business, but I know what I do really well, and and I want to be the best in the world at this thing. Then I will
Hmm.
double down on that thing before I ever try to become the best in the world at something else.
Oh, great advice. How can people reach you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, if they want to reach me, they can find me on Facebook. It's Aaron Drussel. They can like find me on Instagram at Aaron Drussel, and they're welcome to call me too. And my cell phone number is all over the internet. It's 801-234-0505. Not any hidden secret. So yeah.
Great, great advice today. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.